Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our partners for their support in getting these stories told. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, and Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. I'm proud to welcome our newest partner to the program, CORE, Interim and Fractional Executive Leadership, Comprehensive Back Office Support Services. We work in it so you can work on it. Visit cxore.com. This episode, we bring back one of our earlier guests to update and refresh our original conversation as they're now celebrating nearly 3 decades of empathy in action with a touch of understanding. I'm joined by Executive Director Meghan Adamski and longtime volunteer Karen Parsegian to share how this hands-on program, wheelchairs, white canes, prosthetics, and candid conversations has reached more than 157,000 students across 10 counties and reshaped how classrooms talk about disability and inclusion. You'll hear the origin story that began with a 5-year-old's lesson in respect. Karen, now completely blind, shares the 3 taps on the shoulder that led her to a touch of understanding to share and demonstrate to children that blindness isn't limiting and challenges assumptions with what she calls the art of perspectivity. This is why students remember these sessions years, now generations later, sometimes with specific names and details. We'll talk about the dark meal experience that builds compassion, the ripple effects at dinner tables and playgrounds, and what it takes to grow this work into a true movement. If you've ever wondered how to turn understanding into action, this conversation demonstrates what it looks like. Meghan Adamski, Karen Parsegian, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let's jump right into it. Meghan, congratulations. We're having this conversation as the organization is celebrating 30 years of serving our region. 30 years. That's a long time. What an amazing year it's going to be for you and the team. And Karen, while Meghan has seen the growth over her 10 years, or a third of the life of the organization, you've eclipsed that by almost double with 20 years of service as a volunteer.
I'm not that old.
None of us are, right? You've been involved for 2/3 of the organization's life. So, Karen, what was it that brought you to a touch of understanding in the first place?
A 2002 Prius.
And please tell me it wasn't you driving it.
Oh, no, I think it was the right seat. Yeah.
Okay, good.
But like a lot of people that find ATOU, I needed 3 taps on the shoulder, with the last tap being a principal at my niece's elementary school. Brett Loring told me about, oh yeah, you should see this A Touch of Understanding. Can I ask them to come and watch me? Sure. So they came into my niece's classroom, watched, and say, oh, you're ours. So that sealed the deal. And before that, I was on a bus going to a doctor's office, and the woman behind me was going to an ATOU workshop and says, oh, here, you need to talk to Leslie DeDora, and handed me the phone, and I'm like, hello? So that was the second one. And the very first one was 2 weeks after I gave up my car keys. I'm sitting with a gal named Darlene O'Brien, who was then the return to work specialist at Society for the Blind. And I remember I could barely see. And I noticed her 49ers manicure, and she goes, do you like kids? And I'm like, I love kids. She's like, well, I'm with A Touch of Understanding. So that was from 2002 to 2008. And it's like, all right, I'm here.
What a serendipitous sequence of events to get you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not enough, and we've actually had Society for the Blind in the studio as well with Sherry Reisler.
Oh,
Wonderful organization.
yep. They were really helpful.
Meghan, if you would, for the benefit of the listener, give us the formal story. How did A Touch of Understanding actually come to be some 30 years ago?
Yes. Well, A Touch of Understanding was founded by Leslie DeDora, with a lot of support and help, and co-founding by her father, Ed Ennis. And there were kind of a few different things that led to the ultimate founding of A Touch of Understanding. But it started when Leslie was about 5 years old. She had an aunt who had intellectual disabilities, and not understanding her aunt's challenges, she inadvertently mistreated her aunt just because she didn't know. Once her mom explained Aunt Betty's challenges, she had some intellectual disabilities, and so there were various things that were challenging for Aunt Betty. But Leslie's mom explained it in such a way that she also mentioned, but Aunt Betty deserves the same respect that you show anybody else. And that changed everything for Leslie, having that bit of education. So she carried that, and she and Aunt Betty, through their life, became just dear friends, very, very close with one another. Well, then through grade school, Leslie was consistently injured. She was a very active child. And at that time, if you had an injury, a broken bone, whatever, you sat in the principal's office during recess. And that also was where the students with disabilities were. So she spent so much time in the principal's office for always being injured, and started to befriend some of these students just because they were all there at recess together. Then fast forward from there, as an adult, she was taking her son, who was 3 at the time. This is probably close to 50 years ago. They were living in Denver, and she took him to a children's museum. And they had a display about disabilities. There was a wooden wheelchair, wooden crutches, and of all things, a coffin.
Mm.
She let him explore the wheelchair, touch the crutches, didn't let him get in the coffin. But for months afterwards, at 3 years old, he was talking about that. He was saying, why would somebody need wheels on their chair? Am I going to need that someday? And that hands-on nature really stuck with him. Then the kind of next big thing was Leslie was working as an instructional aide in a second grade classroom. And it was right around when mainstreaming was becoming very popular, and wonderful concept. But Leslie saw when the students who did not have the general education mainstream students, they didn't understand their peers who were now in their classroom, and there was a lot of mistreatment and bullying because they didn't understand. In fact, Leslie was working with a group of students, and they were working on telling time on an analog clock. And so she was, showing the analog clock to the kids sitting around her little table, and got to one boy, and the others at the table said in unison, "Don't ask him, he's stupid." And so they said it in unison, not the first time they had said it, and certainly not the first time he had heard it.
Mm-hmm.
So she had this idea, knowing what the impact with her son of the hands-on nature, she knew that she wanted to do something, it had to be hands-on. And the teacher that she was working with said, why not start that right here? And that was in the very early 90s, and it kind of grew from there, and it fully incorporated as a nonprofit in 1996. So, and it has just continued to grow from that one little classroom, which, by the way, we still work with that school 30 plus years later.
Wow. And if I understand, we'll get to this a little bit later in the conversation. Most of the schools you start a relationship with, it doesn't end.
Correct.
They want you to keep coming back.
Correct.
Mhm.
When we are at a school, we work with a single grade level at a time. And the idea is then that that school has us back year after year to work with that grade level. So we have worked with schools for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And we're just consistently back working with, say, 4th grade, or at this school that it was started in 2nd grade. And the school that KP, that your niece went to, that Brett Loring was at,
Mhm.
we are still at that school, however many years later. So we develop very close personal relationships with the schools. Was there something you wanted to add about?
Oh, the 4th graders in Marin,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. They're just amazing.
Let me ask you both a question, because you've been there long enough now to see change. A lot has changed over the course of not only 30 years, but
Mhm.
20, Karen, or
Mhm.
10, Meghan. What is some of the most dramatic change you've seen over time?
I think how we interact with schools, how we present our program, of course, making it through COVID, everyone, of course, had to use the ubiquitous word pivot during that time. And we did too, created some virtual programs. But since kind of in this post-COVID era, if you will, students are, and the way schools are set up, the way students learn, the way they interact is different than it was even 5, certainly 10 years ago. And I think that we have been able to adjust our program to meet those needs. One example is historically our program was set up where we had kind of the two parts going on simultaneously. We had our hands-on activities and our speakers. And our speakers, we'd have 3 to 4 speakers at a time covering a 90-minute session. Now we do 2 speakers, but we pair it with 2 activities. So it's more engaging for the students than just listening for 90 minutes. They're engaged in an activity. They're learning about, they're participating in a hands-on way. And then that also gives us more time because now with the 90 minutes for the activities, we only have 4 activities. So it really allows us to get more in depth and the students to gain more from those activities because they're not rushed through trying to get through 6 in 90 minutes. So that's been one big change I think that we have adapted to. Was there something else that you, as far as change?
The format and the technology, just being able to have the Zoom workshops, especially through COVID, none of us ever thought of that at all.
Yeah.
And it lasts because we were on campus last year and a gal came up to me and she says, I remember you from the Zoom workshop. And I'm like, you're kidding. So it did have impact. It did have
Absolutely.
lasting memory, even though we weren't there live. So, and also nod to you for doing a great job at this succession. Leslie had big shoes to fill. You know, you've come through it swimmingly, as has staff, especially, what was it, 3 months after you took over the helm?
6-ish, 6, 8, yeah.
And then hello, COVID, and finding out a whole new way of keeping the lights on. I don't know how you did it.
Yep. Well,
it was all your fabulous volunteers.
yes.
There you go.
Made a big difference.
Have you seen the impact of phones and digital in the way we hear bullying for kids and students in class? Are you below that? Are they not quite there yet to where it's like it would be in high school or maybe 7th and 8th grade?
Right. The vast majority of the students who go through our program are between 3rd and 6th grade, but we do work with, 7th, 8th, up through high school. We have several high schools we work with, so it's not nothing. I mean, the phones are present and part of their everyday lives. As far as what we have seen, I can't say that we have seen that impact. What I will say is that I think our program translates so well to the online space, to in-person interactions. I don't think that there needs to be a separate program just to focus on, how we treat one another online. It's still human beings on the other side of that screen. Might not know what somebody is going through. To lead with respect and kindness for a person, regardless of how you're interacting with them. So it's not something that we necessarily talk about specifically or that we see specifically. We're not, we don't see phones in the classroom on a regular basis, but they're part of students' lives. And so I just think that it's translated to that space just as easily as it is to in-person interactions.
I had the privilege of attending a school that you were doing the program at. I was blown away at everything I saw. And rather than me describe it, it's a curriculum. It is a very formal program that you go through with the step by step by step. Tell us what happens on that campus when you show up.
So we show up on campus, and especially with some of the campuses we've worked with, we'll have, let's say if we're working with 4th grade, we'll have the 5th or even some campuses 6th graders come, I remember that from last year. We were just at a school in El Dorado Hills a couple weeks ago, and a couple students ran by me as I'm unloading wheelchairs going, hi, Megan. And so we're unloading wheelchairs and all of our materials, and we're setting up in a few different spaces on campus. We have long conversations with schools before our arrival, so we know exactly where we're going, what we're doing. They have it all set out for us. And then when the students come through the program, they're split up into 2 groups. Half are with our speakers and a couple activities there, and then the other half are doing our hands-on activities, including they're using a wheelchair, walk with their eyes closed using a white cane. They write their name in Braille, and they learn about learning differences. We talk about dyslexia and ADHD. And then over with the speakers, they get to hear from the speakers and not just listen to, but really interact with. And KP, I'll let you kind of talk about some of the interactions with students that we've had.
We'll
over
talk
the
about
years.
offloading the trailer. Again, we're in Marin, and it's been a whole year, and all of a sudden these 2 fifth-grade boys, Jill, I'm wearing my helmet. This is one of our speakers who was struck by a drunk driver. She's in a wheelchair. She's paralyzed, and she has a TBI. And
TBI for the benefit of those traumatic brain injury.
yes, sorry about that.
That's okay.
It was just astonishing. It's like 7:45 in the morning, and not only did they repeat her message, but they addressed her by name after a year. So
That's
that kind of
impact.
connection is something.
How do they respond to you, Karen, when you do your presentation in class?
Oh, we have fun. I still can't believe that y'all let me play with the kids. No, it's great. I love kids. I think that they can feel that, and it's not even so much going out of our way. It's just how ATOU is. We create a safe, fun place to explore and to engage their curiosity so they can ask us anything from how do you cook your breakfast to how do you go to the bathroom to how do you pick out your clothes or put on your lipstick. And the makeup, I don't care how old they are, they're always like amazed. It's like you are about to see a 67-year-old babe put her lipstick on in the dark without a mirror while humming a tune. Gets them every time. It's my best one. So it's good.
Will you tell the story of the student who blew your joke?
Oh, we were up in Arnold, and I pass around a prosthetic eye, not out of my head. I have one in a container. And so I want each child to feel the eyes so that they can see it and they can say polymer instead of plastic and see it's not glass. And so as I'm putting my hand in my pocket and I'm like, all right, we're going to show you. Doesn't everybody carry their artificial eye in their pocket? Yeah, Matt's got one. And I was like, he does not, because I'm thinking that holding the eye is going to be the big event of the day. Nah, kid blew my bit. And we had the same ocularist down here in Sacramento. So.
Wow.
I know.
Whoever would have thought, right?
You cannot make this stuff up.
Nope.
No.
But that's the level of connection and the engagement is it's not just that they are meeting and listening to the speakers, it's they're really getting to know them. They're really seeing the people and connecting with them and finding things they have in common. It's not every day that it's a prosthetic eye that they have in common, but they find we like the same sports teams and we both like to, ride our bike or whatever. It's finding those areas of interest, those common threads that help the students realize like, oh, that person's not too different from me.
Well, and we have 2 resident Disney experts, one who has been to Disney over 500 times, Byron, and can carve the characters into staffs and all sorts of wooden projects. And then Amanda, and I guess Hannah too, they can whip out every script from every Disney movie that you can possibly imagine. And if you don't think that connects with 99.9% of the kids all over the Sacramento region, they're very excited.
Yeah.
In terms of the elements, you mentioned the wheelchairs, the white canes. You bring prosthetics as well. And Karen, you have the prosthetic eye, but you have limbs there.
We do. Yep.
And even I was amazed at the variety of different limbs and how you approach that in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because that's not often that you see somebody with a prosthetic limb and sometimes it's masked. You can't see it because they're wearing long sleeves or, long pants or whatever. But the way that was addressed was just amazing to me.
Yeah. That's one of I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of my favorite. I mean, they're all my favorite stations. So that when we in with the speakers, I mentioned we do 2 stations, and one of them is our orthotics and prosthetics,
Mhm.
and then the other station that we do in with the speakers is our station about autism. But with the orthotics and prosthetics, what I think is really cool about that is most students have not seen one of these tools before. Maybe some of the orthotics, maybe the braces, ankle braces and back braces and things like that. Maybe they've seen those. Even rarer that they've seen a prosthetic arm. We have a little baby's hand from a volunteer who volunteered with us
Oh,
many years ago.
that's awesome.
And it was his hand when he was a baby and learning to crawl and clap and did things with 2 hands as a small child. So we have his and other prosthetic arms and prosthetic legs, and it's not uncommon for students to walk up to that table and their first reaction is ew or weird. That's an okay reaction.
Mhm.
But when we're done explaining these tools and showing how they're used and the value, they're going from weird to wow, those are really cool. And it's breaking down the mystery around them, the uncertainty, and just providing that education, not too unlike Leslie's experience at 5 years old. Once her mom provided the education and taught her, her whole world changed. Once students are taught about these tools, they're not so weird or different anymore. They're really cool.
And in some cases, those children or adults, wherever they happen to see that prosthetic in use, they now recognize that, oh, that person's doing everything I'm doing.
Right.
With-
Exactly. Just-
But they're missing a leg. I don't understand. But,
Just using different tools.
and you do understand now.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
As we turn the page on the first quarter century of service to our schools with Meghan Adamski and Karen Parsegian of A Touch of Understanding, let's take a moment to recognize those who make this program possible.
We are really excited to be part of the family and contribute to the work that you all are doing. CORE provides fractional and interim executive services, along with comprehensive back office solutions that go into our client sites and do the work to give them the capacity they need in order to move through transitions, whether that's planned or unplanned. Or companies also work with our accounting and finance, back office solutions, human resources, technology, and administration. The reason why our back office solutions add value is because we save them time and money, anywhere from 20 to 30% of what they would spend on that back office solution. We work in it so they can actually work on it. CXORE.com and contact me directly at DTEAT@CXORE.com.
If you're interested in learning more about how CORE may help your organization, visit CXORE.com.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. Collaboration is a big part of the conversation. And especially in today's environment, organizations, nonprofits really do need to collaborate with others for a variety of different reasons, not to mention just the ease of expense in some cases where you can. Certainly the schools are a big part of your collaborative partnership.
Mm-hmm.
How about other organizations? Who might you come in contact with?
We are so fortunate to have many community supporters and other organizations that we work with, 2 of which are BTC, Boys Team Charity. So it's a group of young men 7th to 12th grade, and they do work with the volunteer work and philanthropic work with various nonprofits, and they're always doing that work alongside a parent. So they work with us. They pack follow-up materials that we hand out to every student who goes through our program. And then NCL, National Charity League, very similar organization, but it's mothers and daughters partnering together to work with organizations. So those have been wonderful partnerships for us. And then organizations like PEC, Progressive Employment Concepts, many of their clients are some of our speakers and our volunteers. So PEC provides, connects their clients with opportunities like ours. They provide transportation, things like that, to allow them to get to our programs. Really about BTC, because we've partnered with them for so long, and they and they've done so much work with us. They started incorporating every year their junior class, so their group of junior high, so 11th grade boys.
Yes.
Go through what's called our dark meal. And KP, I'd love to kind of have you chat a little bit about our last dark meal experience with
so much
BTC.
fun. Well, I facilitate the meal for them. They come into the room with somebody else with a cane. They shake hands, say, "How do you do?" And then they go and sit down, and they're blindfolded. So they don't really know who, they have to discover who they're sitting next to. They don't know what the room looks like or anything else like that. Then we actually walk through finding your water glass, and if it spills, it's absolutely okay. How you figure out what the salt is from the pepper, using the knife and all that. Then they eat and carry on. Then we talk about it at the end. They take off the blindfolds, figure out who's where, and they ask amazing questions. It's fun with these young men. You get to poke at them a little bit. You get to play with them, and they got their cool on. I think it's harder for men and boys. They always have to be cool. They don't want to do anything to look silly in front of their other colleagues in the room. But these guys were something. And as future leaders and philanthropists, I think it's really important to get that muscle memory. If you feel foolish, go ahead. You've survived. If you're in a room with somebody else who's blind, especially a blind man, I had a friend that they were advertising at the Super Bowl. Everybody got up to go to lunch. He had to use the men's room, and then he couldn't find the rest of the group. So you wouldn't have that in a women's group. So it's like, it's okay. It's not a weakness to be kind. It's a strength. So,
And I will say that that group of young men, a little apprehensive at first, but they got into it. And by the end, after they took off their blindfolds and we were done with the meal, they wanted to stick around and talk with KP. There was another probably 15, 20 minutes, and they're just gathered around her asking questions. And then almost all of them wanted to give her a hug afterwards. Can I give you a hug? Just one after the other. And it
if
really
I was 50 pounds younger and 40 pounds lighter.
and they, but
You
it
are
just,
very huggable, let me tell you.
Thank you.
but just that level of engagement and that again, breaking down the walls and the barriers and this kind of cool jacket thing they walk in with was gone by the end of this experience. And the Dark Meal is a really cool program that we provide to not just BTC. Again, we partner with BTC, and for all the work that they do with us, we love being able to give that experience to their junior young men, I guess. But we also do it with businesses and various adult groups. So it's a really cool experience for people to get to experience what it's like to eat a meal without sight.
Well, with
Absolutely.
all those organizations supporting, that's what's allowed you to get through that, 157,000 students over the course of the 30 years?
Yes.
Just think of the penetration into our community of how many people have that understanding and can share it.
Right.
That's such a big deal.
Yeah. And we get that feedback all the time. I mean, 157,000 students, but several of those 157,000, they're adults now.
Yes.
And it's not unusual for me to receive an email from a teacher saying, I remember doing this when I was in 4th grade, and now I want my 4th graders to experience this program. Or have, a superintendent. I was at a school not too long ago, and the superintendent of the school, of the district, happened to be on campus that day for other purposes, but went out of their way to come find me and say, my kids are in college now, and they still talk about this as one of their favorite days in all of their schooling career. And I was doing another speaking engagement with Placer County Office of Education a couple months ago, and a woman came out in the hallway. I was done. I was wrapping up, carrying my stuff out, and 2 women were chatting about the experience they just had, learning about a touch of understanding. And another woman said, I remember doing that in elementary school. And so it is, she was a mom herself now. And so it's something that they truly carry with them for the rest of their life. It's not just a motivational speaker and, okay, you might remember it for a few hours or a week. They remember the message into adulthood. So it's really a unique experience in that way. And when we think of the 157,000, we think of that drop in the bucket. What is the ripple effect? The students go home and have a different relationship with a sibling.
And that gets told at home.
Right.
As soon as they come, I held an eye in my hand today.
Right.
Or a leg or an arm or a hand in my hand.
Right. As a parent myself, I know that, when you ask your kids how their day was, it was good. More often than not, parents are telling us they couldn't wait to tell me all about their day. It changes dinner table conversations. And then, these kids are out in the community and they're playing at parks and they're befriending one another. We had a woman call our office and say that, she was fighting back tears. You could hear her fighting back tears. Her son's on the autism spectrum, and she was just at a park as parents do, and he's usually by himself, just kind of playing by himself. Well, another little boy this particular day came up and they started playing together. And she said to this other little boy, she said, thank you so much for playing with him. That doesn't happen a lot. And he looked at her and he said, well, I had a touch of understanding at my school.
Oh,
so
goodness.
this little boy,
it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Right. The little boy who's on the spectrum, his world has now changed, And so it's out in the community. And then they grow up and they're teachers and administrators and philanthropists and business people and, first responders. And so it's changing the future too. So that 157,000 is, how do you really put a number to the impact? It's very hard to, but 157,000 is a pretty big reach.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
All the more reason we need to expand the program in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Which we'll get to in a second. How do schools learn about the program? How do they find out to get engaged?
Yeah. A variety of ways. More often than not, it is word of mouth, or a teacher is at one school and then they move to a different school. In fact, KP was sharing about Brett Loring and he was at a school, his principal of the school that her nieces were at. Well, then he moved from that school to a school that's now closed, but it was the Warren E. Thornton Youth Center, and it was a school for incarcerated youth. He brought our program there. And then he moved up to Arnold. And called our office, said, have I gone too far? No, Brett, you haven't. And so we now serve schools in Calaveras County and in Arnold and Murphy's because of him, because he just moved schools, and everywhere he went, he made sure that he took us with him. So that happens. It's parents talking to one another. It's at one school, and then a parent is talking to another parent from that school. So, well, I want it at my school. Or a teacher is talking to another teacher. Well, I want that at my school. And that's really, it's been word of mouth has been a big way that our program has grown over 30 years. Word of mouth and then teachers and principals moving around.
How do your volunteers get involved? Is it the same thing? It's like Karen, yours was just a drip effect of somebody saying you should, and all of a sudden they do?
It's kind of a drip effect, but also you have people like Susie Glover and Shanna Lauder, our outreach people. Susie has since retired, but oh my gosh, you want to find somebody who could, she could spot somebody 25 yards away, and she's like, right here. And Shanna, you can find Shanna at just about every community event. anywhere in the Sacramento region. She's doing it just about every week, isn't she?
Yeah, she's out. So
Mhm.
that is a
And
lot of
that's
it.
recruitment for
For
volunteers.
exactly.
Mhm.
And she is out at, places throughout the week, weekends, any place that there is opportunity for a vendor table, she's there. And a lot of times it's not, somebody may not come up to our booth and want to volunteer immediately, but they're interested
Right.
in what we do, so they might sign up for our newsletter. They might follow us on social media. There's one woman who is one of our newest volunteers. Shanna met her a year ago. And so it's not always the right time in that moment, but they get engaged. They're engaged with what we do and our mission. And there's something that attracts them to us for whatever reason. That connection with the mission, the heart, the passion. And it may be a year down the road that their life opens up, their time opens up, and now they're able to give their time. So, but it is out word of mouth. It's people bringing friends, introducing friends to A Touch of Understanding. It's being out in the community. It's talking about it. It really kind of becomes for me kind of a way of life. It's not just okay. It's where I go and I work from this time to this time. It's a way of life.
Well, and businesses that are firmly entrenched in the community too,
Yeah.
like Bogle's
Yeah.
Vineyard. What's it? Friday al fresco.
Yep.
We typically pick up a person or two and some really good lobster rolls once a
Well,
year.
and Jody Bogle, when you have a family-owned business, the
Mhm.
brothers, everybody's involved, they tend to give back so much more to the community because they can
Yes.
relate to it. They've grown up here.
Yeah.
They understand it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and Jody's daughter went through our program at her
Oh,
school.
you just
and
gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a really, and the impact for her daughter. I mean, Jody called our office and just shared how much it meant for her daughter to go through our program. So it's that close-knit kind of community feel.
So we're looking at 30 years now. Clearly, however you're funding the organization is working. I'm sure it's changed over the course of time, and it's changing again, as we all know, with changes in the dynamic nature of funding,
Yep.
whether it's federal or state or county. How are you funded?
It's a variety of ways. One, about just under half of our overall income does come from school fees. So we have a very unique setup in the nonprofit space that we do have a fee for service. Schools pay a fee for our program to come on their campus, but their fee is what they pay is just a little less than half of what it truly costs us. So we have to make up those other costs, and we do that through writing grants. We have an incredible grant team. Our annual fundraiser, Evening of Insight, and then just individual donations. So it's in business partnerships and those kind of relationships. It's this kind of multi-prong approach to fundraising.
In today's environment, that's much better
Yes.
than if you're a single source.
Right. We're thankful and for the funding that we have and that we've been able to acquire and the way that it's set up, that we do have kind of these different streams of income.
Is there anything special planned for the 30th anniversary?
Our 30th anniversary, our big fundraiser, Evening of Insight, is really going to honor 30 years and the accomplishment that is. And at that time, we will be probably have reached over 160,000 students by that point. It'll be April 23rd of 2026 at Timber Creek Lodge and Ballroom in Roseville. And it's really going to be bringing in some of our current and past speakers, having them share the impact, honoring our founder, Leslie DeDora, and the work that she did to create this incredible organization. It's going to be celebrating a huge milestone. That's really it'll be a fundraiser and a huge celebration.
How many people do you employ, Megan?
We have a team we just hired number 8. We have a
Okay.
very small team, and we have probably close to about 50 workshop volunteers. Our volunteers are a mix of volunteers with and without disabilities. It's about a 50-50 mix. But yeah, we're small but mighty. We have a team of 8, and I got to share a quick story about the most recent person we hired. She was another kind of that small world connection, that 3 taps to finally, her son is on the autism spectrum. And he went through our program when he was in 3rd grade. And shortly after going through our program, he was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. But he had heard one of our speakers. Her name's Kira, and she's 14 and has a wonderful way of relating to the students because she's much closer to their age. And she shares about being, having autism and sensory processing and anxiety and a couple other things and dyslexia. And so when our employee's son was diagnosed, it was no big deal. He had already heard from Kira, and he's like, this is great. This is no problem. And then Kira was speaking. She does some speaking with Kaiser, and Kaiser puts on a class for parents whose children have been recently diagnosed with autism. So this employee, her name's Courtney, she's on this online class, and oh my gosh, Kira's speaking. So she's in the chat going, you spoke at my son's school, and it's because of you and what you said that he had no problem with his autism diagnosis. And then she saw a job posting for us. So it's kind of seeing the job posting for us was that third tab, and she's like, this is too much fate. I mean, they were in the classroom, and then I got to interact with Kira, and then now this. And so it's those connections. Those connections are all out in the community, whether we always hear about them or not. They're going on in the kind of ripple effect.
She drives a Prius.
She does drive a Prius, bringing it all back
to the very beginning of the conversation, right? Let's have a little fun for a second. Your budget is roughly $600,000. If somebody came to you and said, Meghan, I love what you're doing, and if you can give me a good enough reason in the explanation, I'm going to give you a blank check to do whatever you need to do, what would it look like?
KB, I think you had a really good idea for that based on what Leslie said to you.
Oh, I talked to her the other day, and she said, if you saw anybody with a disability in the community, the thought going through your head is like, I wonder if they're part of the ATOU family. Knowing that it's open to all and that people are just people.
And then it's far more than just a program, it's a movement.
It's a movement.
Yeah. And I think, what I would love to see to get to that space, it's a movement, is expanding locally right here in the greater, Sacramento and Placer County regions. We serve 10 counties, but to be able to saturate those counties, there's still a huge unmet need right here in our own communities. So hiring the individuals and acquiring the volunteers and acquiring a vehicle and trailer and materials to have multiple teams out. Right now, we're out at schools. Our team, again, small staff, team of volunteers are out at schools 3 to 4 days a week, and we reach on average 9,000 to 10,000 students a school year. So we're traveling all over as far as the Bay Area and Calaveras County and Placer, Sacramento, El Dorado, Yolo counties and beyond. So to hire another team, so it's 2 teams out reaching twice as many students a day, I think would be excellent. And then the silver lining of COVID was it gave us the space and the time and forced us to create virtual programs, something that we had, talked about pre-COVID of like, how do we expand nationwide? This, I don't know how many people tell us this needs to be statewide, this needs to be nationwide. And so, virtual offerings, well, now we've created those. But again, with a small team and a small staff, it's packaging them, it's marketing them. So being able to take what we've created in these virtual programs and market them to schools across the country.
Especially to the little communities with all the little nooks and crannies that wouldn't have access to any of this at any time.
Exactly. And creating the movement that way by expanding locally and using materials that we've created to expand nationally.
And you can't forget transportation. Because I would volunteer a lot more, but I'm limited basically to Sacramento County unless somebody can come and fetch me. You don't want me driving the car.
No, we don't.
No. So I would be volunteering even more if somebody didn't have to come fetch me. That was so far out of the way. I'm a little off the path from a lot of the volunteers or staff. So to have a transportation grant, if I had an Uber card, I'd be at a mall.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Uber, but it'd be nice. Why not?
A transportation of
yes,
sorts.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's it's just perfect segue. I don't know where you're going to go with this when I ask you the question of, we come off of that vision, the imagine, the what if scenario, to Well, what is scenario?
Mhm.
What is the greatest need?
The greatest need is people, and of course, funding for said people. I think not too dissimilar from many other nonprofits that the two needs are money and people.
Mhm.
You're kind of really the people are your most valuable resource, and so if we had the volunteers, and we're all the time building to or working to build up our volunteer base. But if we had the people to be out at these schools to really expand, um, that would be huge. That would be game changing for us.
Oh my gosh, if we could get more speakers with all the stories, because everybody's story is different, no matter how much the same they are. They're so different. It's like pizza, all different flavors, but it's still pizza. See, it's food. It's almost lunch.
Yes, time we're recording this, it's right around noon. I hear stomachs growling a little bit. We told a lot of stories, and you shared a lot of successes about the organization. Is there anything, both of you, in some case, that's just a really cute story that comes from a kid, a child, because they say the craziest things? Is there something that, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said that, or they did this, or whatever it might be? I'm sure both of you have experienced things of that nature, and it could also be, doesn't have to be uh, um, humorous, haha, laugh out loud, although those are cute too. But something that's so poignant that a child said after one of the sessions, or it came back through a parent or something like that.
Gosh, we have stories
I can only
galore
imagine you
of
can.
any of those.
I saw some of them taking place in the classroom where the kids were saying, well, whisper, next to each other. I'm like,
Yeah,
but it was different than what I've expected what kids to be saying.
right,
It was in a kind way. It wasn't in an antagonistic
right,
way.
right.
And the things that they were talking about.
Well, I would love to share kind of one of impact and one of cuteness and sweetness, and then I know that you've got some to share too, KP. But I'll just read a letter that we got from a student that just touched me. And she said, and we get thousands of letters. Again, reaching 9,000 to 10,000 students a school year, we get thousands of letters from students. And but this one in particular stuck with me. And she said, for me, a touch of understanding helps me understand it's okay to be different. I have dyslexia, and this helped me learn that I can be me, and I shouldn't be hiding it. This also helped me realize that some people have disabilities, and maybe they look different, but I shouldn't be scared. ATOU also helped me see and hear what people with disabilities go through, and it really helped me feel more aware of things that they live with. Next, I think that people have changed by doing nicer things. Like after you came, I noticed people not making fun of people who have disabilities. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for coming, ATOU. I love your program. Thank you. You made a big indent on Del Deo in a good way. And so this student just feeling the self acceptance, feeling that she is just fine the way that she is, and she shouldn't have to hide or hide her dyslexia or some of the challenges that she may face. So that's just one example of the hundreds and thousands of letters that we received that are so sweet and so touching. And then we did receive a letter from a student who said, I'm going to remember this forever because I'm going to save it in my Google Drive. So we get those two. And,
Back to technology. We touched on that too. There we go.
Yep. He's going to save it in his Google Drive, or she's going to save it in her Google Drive and remember it. So out of the mouth of babes, kids say the darndest things.
Yes.
KP?
Well, I was thinking that impact cuts both ways because we experienced something out in Dry Creek. This fourth grade girl was helping me pack up my bag. And she goes, can I hug you, KP? And I'm like, yes, of course. And when we hugged, my hand came away and I felt her bracelet. I go, oh, that feels so pretty. And, I didn't have a bracelet yet at all. And she goes, oh, it's your birthday tomorrow. I want you to have it. And it said lucky on it. And I was like, oh, I can't take this. And she goes, no, you have to. And you know how they do that bouncing up and down thing. So I wore the bracelet out. Well, it stayed with me and gave me a new hobby because now I am making bracelets and I do make them and give them out at school. And Megan and I went back to surprise her in class and her whole classroom with treats and a thank you to let them know that their kindness lasted with us all year long and affected us outside of the whole ATOU universe. And thank you. And of course, she was not there that day. So we left her the lucky bracelet again and a new bracelet and a thank you note and all
How
those
sweet
treats.
is that?
Yeah.
But the best one, my favorite one, we're in class, I think it's second grade, right? And I like speaking around my birthday because birthdays to fourth grade is a very big deal. And once you get into what's your favorite ice cream, what's your favorite cake, oh, the energy goes way up for me too. So anyway, I go, yeah, and I'm 60 years old. And this little voice in the back of the room goes, you're really old. And it's like, yes, I am. Thank you very much. Don't forget to tip your servers. I'm out. So
Having no idea that in itself is a touch of understanding.
Yes.
Megan, anything as we close that you'd like to leave the audience with? 30 years of support?
Yes. Just to thank the community at large for the support over 30 years. I mean, we are here because of community support, because of donations, because of volunteers, because of schools engagement. And we're very excited to celebrate that accomplishment April 23rd, 2026, for Evening of Insight, celebrating 30 years of A Touch of Understanding and really envisioning what do the next 30 look like?
Mhm.
What is the growth? What's that next 160,000 students? Where can we grow from here? So so a thank you, and for those interested, check out our website, touchofunderstanding.org. Maybe interested in volunteering. We have opportunities for that, information about our fundraiser, all kinds of things. So different ways to follow us on social media, our newsletter, different ways to stay engaged.
And this is one of those few organizations, few situations, few businesses where your disability is wanted.
Mhm.
We want you to volunteer.
Yep.
It's not, oh, I have this disability. I can't. I have this disability. I'm needed.
Yes.
So if that opportunity presents itself, we definitely want people to participate.
Yes.
Well, and the ATOU marinade, it's fun, it's meaningful. There is a strong can-do work ethic. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never been around people like this. We all leave our crabby at home. We only bring our A games to our ATOU family, and that really, to me, is an extraordinary thing.
Well, and seeing 10 counties in the service area,
Mhm.
very, very broad geographically, with a vehicle
Yep.
and a trailer and a crew of people.
Yep.
And those are some long days.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, because I know where Murphy's is.
Yep.
That's a long ways away.
It is.
And Marin's no easy jaunt either.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
So those are just an amazing, amazing group of people that are so willing to commit and do what they do.
And it's fun. At the end of the day, it is so fun. Yes, there are long days and early morning and driving here, there, and everywhere, but it's fun. The bond that we have as a family, and that's truly what we all look at as a family, and always excited to grow our family and to meet new people and welcome people into this fold, because we have a lot of fun. We laugh. Kids say the darndest
gosh.
things. Our volunteers, it's never boring.
Never.
And so it's fun.
Megan, Karen, between the two of you, you have 30 years of experience with the organization. You combined have as much tenure as the organization itself does. So for what you've done, what you do, your commitment to your team, to everybody, here's to another 30 years of A Touch of Understanding and helping people understand what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes. So thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for having
Jeff.
us.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. Once again, we're grateful for the businesses who have made this program possible. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. You can find them in Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom, captrust.com. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families, westernhealth.com.